One of the most impactful and tragic events in American history was the Salem witch hunt. In a time where superstition and fear ruled people's lives, many were accused of practicing witchcraft and inviting the devil in their lives for their own selfish desires, but also to harm others around them. The infamous trials took place in colonial Massachusetts between 1692 and 1693. It's estimated that about 200 people, mostly women, were accused of practicing witchcraft. The thing is, the Puritan society at the time was highly religious to a fault, and governed everyone with strict beliefs and practices. The Puritans wanted to purify the church from what they perceived as corrupt practices and wanted to establish a more devout and disciplined religious community. And obviously, making deals with the devil and practicing witchcraft didn't really align with their agenda. The Salem witch trials were initially triggered by a combination of many factors, including social disputes, fear, and of course superstitious beliefs. But what really started the whole thing was probably the claims from two young girls in the month of January of 1692. Reverend Samuel Parris's daughter Elizabeth, who was only 9 years old, and his niece Abigail Williams, who was 11, started having unusual fits of terror. They later claimed to be afflicted by some mysterious physical and mental symptoms, which some people of course interpreted as signs of witchcraft, and that the young girls were probably under the influence of a spell. You can imagine the terrible results a statement like that had on a society with pre-existing tensions within the community and with paranoid people lurking around every corner. On February 29, under the pressure of two magistrates, Jonathan Corwin and John Hawthorne, the girls blamed their fits on three women: Tituba, a slave from the Caribbean, Sarah Good, a homeless beggar, and Sarah Osborne, an elderly impoverished woman. What did these three women have in common was that 1. They were vulnerable and thus easy to target, and 2. They couldn't really defend themselves when faced with the accusations. Tituba was a slave and was already marginalized by the society, Sarah Good was homeless and couldn't really conform to the norms of a Puritan society, and Sarah Osborne was an old woman who married her servant, which of course was considered scandalous by the Puritans. Starting on March 1st, 1692, the three women were brought in and questioned for several days, and both Sarah Good and Sarah Osborne claimed to be innocent. However, Tituba confessed, and she described to her captors elaborate images of black dogs, red cats, as well as a mysterious dark man who came to her and wanted her to sign his book. She admitted that she did sign the book, and also said that there were several other witches in the city looking to harm the Puritans. In the end, all three women were put in jail. Tituba was a significant figure in the context of the Salem witch trials because she worked in the household of Reverend Samuel Parris, who was the local minister. She practiced folk magic and shared her knowledge of African and Caribbean spiritual traditions, such as hand reading, with some of the young girls in the village, including Elizabeth Parris and Abigail Williams. So that's why when the girls started having their unusual fits, she was one of the first individuals accused of being a witch. But the people accused were not always vulnerable. Among the 200 or so that were accused, some of them were sometimes highly respected and liked citizens. One of them was Giles Corey. He was accused of witchcraft in 1692 along with his wife Martha, but refused to enter a plea to try and protect his property from confiscation. In response, he was subjected to a brutal and very painful form of torture known as pressing. He was stripped naked and laid on the ground, and then large wooden boards were placed on top of him. And then heavy stones were added one by one, increasing the weight on his body. Slowly but surely, it got heavier and heavier. But despite the intense pain and suffering, Giles Corey endured it. Every single time they tried to question him to get him to confess, the only thing he would say was more weight. His act of defiance went on for 2 whole days until he finally couldn't resist anymore and died crushed by the weight of all the stones. There are several accounts of Corey's last words, but the one that keeps coming back is the one where he kept repeating the words, "more weight," as he endured the pain in his final moments. In the aftermath of the Salem witch trials, many people involved, including Judge Samuel Sewall, publicly admitted their mistakes. As a result, on January 14, 1697, the General Court decreed a day of fasting and soul-searching for everyone to reflect on the tragic events. The court later declared the trials as illegal, and in 1711 passed a bill to restore the rights and reputations of those accused and provide restitution to their heirs. In the end, more than 200 people were accused of witchcraft during the Salem witch hunt, and 20 were executed, 14 women and 6 men. These tragic deaths are now a reminder of the consequences of the mass hysteria and paranoia that can take hold of a community and destroy it at any time. So this concludes today's video. Thanks everyone for watching till the end. Don't hesitate to leave a like and to subscribe to the channel if you wish to see more content like this. And if you also have any suggestions, let us know in the comments below. Thanks again, take care, and see you soon.